The Point of View is powered by Airtel Tigo. Have you heard that Airtel Tigo calls from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. and Airtel Tigo money transfers are now free on new SIMs? Now you know. Airtel Tigo. Life is simple. And Lydia Contraceptive. With Lydia, you truly decide.
Welcome to The Point of View. This is your favorite current affairs show on television. Here on The Point of View, we get the right guests. We ask them the relevant questions on issues that matter to you. It's an interactive show. If you're watching on television, send us a comment on the WhatsApp number. If you're watching on any of our social media platforms, please feel free to contribute to the stream. So it's 2 months to Ghana's election. It's less than a month to the American election. It's a huge election. Tonight, we'll be looking at it from three very interesting angles. I have a Ghanaian, I have two Americans, and they will be talking about the dynamics leading up to the election, who's going to win, and what it will mean for the world. Stay with us. So welcome back to The Point of View. Don't forget this show is brought to you by Airtel Tigo. Life is simple and it's interactive. If you're watching on TV, please feel free to send us your thoughts on the WhatsApp number on the screen. And if you're on any of the social media platforms, we're very happy to hear from you via your comments. So I have three guests in studio. One we know very well, Dr. Etse Sikanku, journalist turned academic, now political pundit. Doc, great to have you.
Good to be with you, Bernard.
I like your haircut. Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Now, we also have two very interesting people joining us from the U.S. Professor Lyombe Eko. He teaches at Texas Tech University. This is in Texas in the USA. And he is joining us via Zoom. Prof. Eko, thanks for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Brilliant. We also have Professor Wanye Wanta. Prof. Wanta teaches at the University of Florida, but is currently talking to us from Missouri, which is in the Midwest. So very interesting angles he's bringing. Professor Wanta, thanks for joining us. Good evening.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Fantastic. All right, before we get into the conversation about what this whole election is about, who's going to win, what are the issues driving it, I just wanted to show you a few days ago the first of their debates. We don't know if there will be another debate because of what that has happened. But this debate was really interesting. Moderated by the very usually calm and collected Wallace from Fox News, but just a quick excerpt of what the two leading candidates in the U.S. election took viewers through a few days ago.
I beat Bernie Sanders.
Not by much.
I beat him a whole hell of a lot. I'm here standing facing you, old buddy.
Pocahontas would have left 2 days early. You would have lost every primary.
All he knows how to do is hurt.
Tuesday. You got very lucky.
Here's the deal. I got very lucky. I'm going to get very lucky tonight as well. And tonight I'm going to make sure, because here's the deal. Here's the deal. The fact is that everything he's saying so far is simply a lie. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
But you
I just want to make sure.
Joe, you're the liar.
I want to make sure.
You graduated last in your class, not first in your class.
God, I want to make
Mr.
sure.
Mr. President, can you let him finish, sir?
No, he doesn't know how to do that. He has,
You'd be surprised.
You pick
You'd be surprised.
the wrong guy, the wrong night at the wrong time.
Listen, you agreed with
Here's
Bernie Sanders to the manifesto.
whole idea.
Let him.
There is no manifesto, number
Please
one.
let him speak, Mr.
Number
President.
two.
You just lost the left.
Number two.
You just lost the left. You agreed with Bernie Sanders on a plan.
Folks,
absolutely agreed
folks, do you have any idea what this clown's doing?
They call it
You have any idea?
socialized medicine.
Mr. President.
Let people know
He doesn't want
you're a
to answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
would you answer that
because
question?
the question is
the Supreme Court justice,
the
radical
question,
left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe? Who's on your list?
Right, gentlemen, I think
This
we've
is
ended
so
this.
He's going to pack the court.
I'm
not going to give a list.
We have ended this segment. We're going to move on.
A lot of people died, and a lot more are going to die unless he gets a lot smarter, a lot quicker.
So,
Mr. President?
Did you use the word smart? So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what? There's nothing smart about you, Joe. 47 years, you've done nothing.
Let's have this debate.
And if you would have had, let me just tell you something, Joe.
No,
if you would have had the charge of what I was put through. I had to close the greatest economy in the history of our country. And by the way, now it's being built again.
See,
and it's
We're going to
going
get
up
to the
fast.
economy in the next segment, sir.
Okay.
Oh, Mr. President,
Go ahead.
I'm asking you a question. Will you tell us how much you paid in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017?
Millions of dollars.
You paid millions of dollars?
Millions of dollars.
So
yes.
not 750.
Millions of dollars. And you'll get to see it.
He says he's smart because he can take advantage of the tax code. And he does take advantage of the tax code. That's why I'm going to eliminate the Trump tax cuts. And
But why didn't you do it over the last 25
wait,
years?
Because you weren't president. Because you weren't president screwing things up.
You were a senator. And
You're
by
the
way,
worst
you were a
president
vice-
America has ever had.
Hey,
Come
Joe,
on.
let me just tell you, Joe. I've done more in 47 months. I've done more than you've done in 47 years, Joe.
Will you urge your supporters to stay calm during this extended period, not to engage in any civil unrest? And will you pledge tonight that you will not declare victory until the election has been independently certified? President Trump, you go first.
I'm urging my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully, because that's what has to happen. I am urging them to do it. As you know, today there was a big problem. In Philadelphia, they went in to watch. They're called poll watchers, a very safe, very nice thing. They were thrown out. They weren't allowed to watch. You know why? Because bad things happen in Philadelphia, bad things. And I am urging my people. I hope it's going to be a fair election. If it's a fair
You're urging
election,
them what?
I am 100% on board. But if I see tens of thousands of ballots being manipulated, I can't go along with that. And I'll tell you what,
does that
from
mean,
a common
not go along?
sense,
Does that mean
I'll
you're going
tell
to
you
tell
what
your
it means.
people to take to
It
the...
means
So that was those were the two leading candidates. Donald John Trump is the president of the U.S. He's also the Republican Party candidate. And of course, Joe Biden, the former vice president. He was vice president under Obama. He is the Democratic candidate. So, Dr. Etse, have you seen anything quite like this? You've followed the U.S. elections for a while.
Right.
Have you seen anything quite like this before?
Not before Donald Trump.
Not before Donald Trump.
Not before Donald Trump. But Donald Trump is the first of his kind that has taken the stage as president. He's unusual. He's as unusual in any sense that you can imagine it. And so 2016 gave birth to such a character, a political outsider, as people see him, somebody who has never held political office before, somebody known as a businessman, but somebody also known to be politically incorrect, and even in terms of his language, in terms of his civility, and in terms of his political character and his political behavior. The worst thing that Mitt Romney ever did was that he said he put a dog on top of his car, and that was like the worst thing he ever did. But for Donald Trump, it's like a bottomless pit in terms of how far he can go and the extent to which he can go in terms of name calling, labeling.
So you think what we just saw was actually because of Donald Trump?
Yes, because he has introduced that into American politics.
He introduced that.
Yes.
So there were three men on the stage. Chris Wallace, very experienced journalist. Joe Biden, 43 years, senator, former vice president.
Right.
This whole thing we saw and the tone of the election has been set by Mr. Trump.
Yeah, it's been normalized. So you see, Bernard, let me get straight to the point. Before this, we've always known America as the citadel of democracy. We've always looked up to America as the paragon of democratic politics. And in terms of our practice of democracy, they have always been the exemplar. They've always been the star that we've looked up to in terms of the civility of the politics, in terms of the substantiveness of their politics, and in terms of the decorum that they've used to characterize their elections based on issues and not based on personalities or character. That has been the standard. You look at their debates, and they were just a very, very, useful example to the rest of the world for what a concrete debate or democratic politics should be. Now here comes Donald Trump, who says that forget about all this political correctness, forget about all these, career politicians. I come here and I'm going to say it as it is. I'm going to speak for the ordinary man. And so he uses a lot of the things that previously were frowned upon in politics, name calling, fake news, and all of that, the personal attacks, the innuendos, the ad hominem arguments, and all of that. He personalizes that and uses that as his brand.
Fantastic.
And that tended to appeal to a lot of people. So what I'm saying is that every period is defined by a certain personality. We had the Obama era, we had the Bush era, and we had the Reagan era.
So this is the
Trump era.
So that the president defines. Let me come to Professor Wayne, and you teach communications. So before we get into the full election, what did we just see in that short clip, excerpts of the debate? As somebody who teaches communication to students, what just happened there?
Well, frankly, it was embarrassing. I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, we had a candidate who continually interrupted another candidate. It is normalizing the ideas of lack of civility and things like that. But I think there's more people in the United States who are just embarrassed by Donald Trump than they are fans of his. I think you see this in our public opinion polls and elsewhere. I saw just recently a column that said, it argued from a Republican standpoint that the person was going to vote for Joe Biden because Joe Biden is a decent human being and Donald Trump isn't.
So it's come down to that, not the policy, it's basically between the two men and what they represent.
I think a lot of people in the United States are just tired of having someone who is just a nasty person. He calls people's names. He insults people. He is very selfish in a lot of things that he does, and he certainly hasn't helped improve the American image abroad. I mean, he's insulted our closest allies, and he's complimented dictators, and all of that is unusual. And I think that's probably one reason why I think a lot of the media don't know how to really respond to Donald Trump. We've never had anything like this. We've had people who have tried to criticize the media, but none that have ever lied to them repeatedly, and have done really mean things to his opponents.
All right, but the state in which you live, that you're talking to me from, Missouri, is a very red state. That means that they tend to vote for Mr. Trump's party, and the polls in that state show that he's probably going to win there. So how come this man you just described this way is so popular in your hometown state?
Well, I wish I had an easy answer for that, but I really don't. I think that he does bring some things to the table that previously hadn't been discussed. He does criticize the media very heavily, calls them the enemy of the people. And I think there's a lot of people in the state of Missouri and actually neighboring states. Oklahoma's even redder than Missouri, and they're going to go for Trump very heavily. But I think what's happened is that he comes out as being very populist because he talks about issues that haven't really been talked about before. There's a lot of people who, for whatever reason, are biased against minorities. Missouri is one example of a state like that, and so there's. I think if you look at the percentage of minorities in the United States who are backing Trump, it's under 10%. And Missouri has got a relatively large minority population, but a lot of the people, we've had very racist things happen here. We had an instance where Black Lives Matters were staging a protest, and two homeowners in St. Louis came out with guns and pointed them at the people walking past their house. it's a very strange situation. I'm not really sure exactly how this is all happening.
Okay, maybe let me come to Lyombe. He may know. Professor, you live in Texas, which used to be a very deeply red state, but I'm told now it's not that clear. How did America get here?
I don't know what you mean by how did America get here. I don't think America has changed very much. I came to America more than 30 years ago. I've been in here, in and out of the place. And I don't think America has changed very much. What we saw here, to refer to that debate you just played here, what we saw here was a dropping of the facade of civility in politics. A lot of people don't know that there is a very nasty side to American politics. What we see on TV, what we see in the debates is not what goes on. Historically, politicians have always played nasty games against each other. They have called each other names. They have done all kinds of things against each other. We don't have time for me to go into some historical details here. But what we saw there in that debate is two veteran street fighters fighting in their own way. Trump is a street fighter. As a builder in New York, he had to deal with the mafia, and he had to deal with all kinds of characters and organizations to succeed. That is the only thing he knows. That's his language, that's his character. Biden is also a street fighter. Biden has been in politics for 47 years. For him to survive, he has also done his own street fighting. Biden, I can tell you, is not as pure as the driven snow. Biden has made some very, very racist statements about Obama to begin with. When Obama and him were running for president, he said, Obama is one of those few clean black people and articulate black people. And he said he can't go to a 7-Eleven store in Delaware, his home state, without running into someone with an Indian accent. Wow. And of course, he didn't want to send his children to a public school because he don't want his children to go to a racial jungle. All the politicians in Washington, D.C., most of them Democrats, they don't send their children to public schools. They send them to those elite schools so they don't know the reality of the people. So I can tell you that what Trump did, Trump spoke to a faction he spoke to his base. There are some people who like the fact that he's a forceful personality and he can fight back. Here in Texas, they like people who can fight back, who do not sit down and take what they say, they take BS from they call it the liberals. So I would be one of those who differ with characterizations of that debate as very, very bad. It told us something about both of them. It told us that Trump is, he's a maverick, political maverick. He is an unorthodox person. And it also told us that Joe Biden can lose his cool if you get under his nerves, and then you can also see he's also a street fighter in his own way. So my view is that America has not changed very much. It's just a little bit more divided, but not necessarily along racial lines. America is divided ideologically. The media in America, you can predict what is going to happen by what TV station you watch. If you go to CNN, you go to ABC, NBC, you know that they have already voted Biden. You go to Fox, they have already voted Trump. So it's just a reflection of division. That is a political division in America. And on the whole, on the substance of the country, as far as I'm concerned, there really is not much change.
Well, but that's a profound statement, that America is not divided racially as much as it is divided ideologically. That's interesting, because when we watch television, we see all the protests and all the anger over the killing of the man who's, the people take the knee now. How do you tell me that the major division in America is ideological and not racial?
America is not racially divided. I can tell you as a black man who has lived in 3 different states. I lived in the state of Maine. It is the whitest state in the union. 98% of the people are white. I lived in Iowa, and 92% of the people are white. I now live in Texas. I've lived from north to south. The average American person is a decent person. The politicians want people to be angry. And I can tell you, I sent you a picture there to your producer. When we had these Black Lives Matter debates, or these riots and so on and so forth recently, there was a legitimate complaint about the murder. It was the gruesome murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis, Minnesota. But the Black Lives Matter movement was hijacked by a lot of anarchists and their white youth anarchists. I sent a picture to your producer there.
Yes.
If you can project it, I don't know if you can do that. But the police in New York City arrested a number of young people. They were all whites. They say they are members of the radical Black Panther Party. And they were going around, not this one.
The other one.
There was another one. Not this one.
There's a third one, yes. This one.
That one, yes. You see those young people, they were the ones who are going around New York City, setting fires to buildings, breaking down shops, and they arrested all of them. The girl on the left there, on the top left, she is a millionaire.
Wow.
Her mother is an architect. Her father is a professor in Columbia University and a child psychiatrist. All those people, you see that they are all very rich. They have not experienced racism. They have not experienced poverty. They have just joined this anarchist fringe, and they go out and they destroy properties, including the shops of African Americans, of immigrants, and so on and so forth. That's why that's evidence that the movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, a lot of it has nothing to do with blacks, nothing to do with us. It is anarchists who are using it to promote ideologies. That is the point I'm trying to make. So I've had dealings with police all the time. You meet with the police. I have not had an unpleasant experience with the police. The rule with the police in America, like the police everywhere in the world, if you encounter the police, they tell you to do something, you do it. If they say, show me your ID, you show them your ID. Get out of your car, you get out of your car. I can tell you one thing. I have lived in many African countries. If I had to choose, which police force I would deal with, the police force in America, or the police in Nigeria, or the police in Kenya, or even the police in Cameroon, where I was born, I would rather deal with the police in America.
Wow.
They are not monsters. There are a few people, just like in every society, you have a few people who are terrible. But the vast majority, at least those I've dealt with, they are decent people. That's my experience from 30 years in America.
Super. So we'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll find out what are the key issues driving the election. I think Professor Wanta is hinting that personality will be strong, basically saying some people just want to vote for a decent person. Professor Lyombe seems to think that both men aren't that different. Etse is also in the studio. We'll take your own views as well. This is the point of view. Stay with us.
Morning. I just sent you Etse Sikanku money from my new number. We delivered 2 healthy kids last night. Congrats. Have you heard? Kwesi has
2 kids. Have you heard?
My son has 2 kids. Abazi. No. No, your sister almost sent me.
Have you heard the news about the missing chicken?
Have you heard? Get free calls and free Etse Sikanku money transfers for 6 months on new Etse Sikanku SIMs. Get a SIM.
Nivea Men Deep Antiperspirant with the power of black carbon formula. 48-hour protection from sweat and bacteria. For a deep, clean feeling that lasts. New Nivea Men Deep Antiperspirant. Nivea Men. It starts with you. Official sponsor of Real Madrid.
Welcome back to The Point of View. Tonight we're trying to understand the U.S. election. They're voting in less than a month, 3rd November. In fact, in a few hours, the vice presidential debate between Kamala Harris of the Democratic Party and Mike Pence, who's the vice president, would happen in a state. But in studio I have Dr. Etse Sikanku. I also have Professor Wanye Wanta. He teaches at the University of Florida, but he's based in Missouri now. He went there and I think COVID caught him in terms of he couldn't go back to his university. Professor Lyombe Eko, born in Cameroon, he's been in America for 30 years, teaches at the University of Texas or Texas Tech. Etse, what are the key drivers of this election?
All right, so the main thing, number one on the list, is the economy. And if you followed the American politics for a while, you know that the economy is one of the most highest indicators of the outcome of the election. So the economy. And if you compare it to Ghana here, I think there are some kind of similarities. The economy is always big over here as well. So I think number one is economy. Number two is healthcare. Healthcare is a big issue in the U.S. because of costs of healthcare. You know, there was this Obamacare where he was trying to make healthcare accessible to a lot of people. The Republicans hated it and they said they were going to repeal it. And so if you remember in 2016, healthcare was one of the big messages of the Republicans because they said they hated Obamacare. So they are going to come and repeal Obamacare. So healthcare, major issue, and not surprising again because even in our own country, healthcare is always very important to the sustenance of the people, you know, in terms of our own national health insurance and all of that.
So economy, healthcare, top two.
The third thing is the Supreme Court appointments.
You think so?
Oh, yes, not that I think so. This is according to Pew Research.
So the Supreme Court appointment?
Yes.
Why is that?
It is so because, you know, in America, they have only 9 Supreme Court justices. And it's a very, what we call the rational legal system, ideologically as politics. So everything is so legal. You know, that's why everything will sue the hell out of you and all of that. So very legalistic system, legalese. Now, when when Wayne was talking, I think it was Eko rather, he talked about the ideological divide in America, not even racial. Now, the Supreme Court is divided along ideological lines. And the way in which the character of the American society, its culture, is based on how social life is organized in America is based strictly on legal stuff. What is legal, what is allowed, what is not allowed. Whether it's racism, whether it's biasing, whether it's gender, whether it's voting, or whatever, is all determined by the Supreme Court. And so it's a big issue because they know that whoever controls the Supreme Court does not just control the legal system or the laws, but basically has an important opportunity to determine the nature and the character of the country itself, socially, culturally, for a very long time to come, in terms of same-sex marriage.
So it's an appointment for life.
Appointment for life.
So why is the Supreme Court such a big issue in this election? Is it because of the death of Ruth Ginsburg?
Exactly. And the members of the court are divided on ideological lines.
Okay.
Yeah, so there used to be 5 conservatives and 4...
So this is social issues?
Social issues, yes. So there are 9 in all. Now, so if 9... So you always need 5-4 to win.
Yes.
Yes. Now, there are only 3 liberals.
3 liberals?
Yes, over there. And, of course, Ginsburg is gone. So we have 5 conservatives. So if they appoint another conservative...
That'll be 6-3.
That's 6-3. They've lost it. You know, so they can repeal everything, same-sex marriage, Obamacare, everything they wanted to do, even abortion. You know, in America, abortion is legalized. In every American election, you hear about Roe versus Wade. Very, very big issue in American elections. And the Republicans are determined to make it illegal. That's one of their longest...
So you think economy, health, and Supreme Court are the top 3 issues?
And the 4 is coronavirus.
The coronavirus?
Yes, 4 is coronavirus. COVID. How they handled COVID.
Okay.
Of course, we know that that's also at play in Ghana. Yeah.
Wow, so these are the 4. I'll come to Wayne shortly, but there's also just a quick explanation. How does American election work? In Ghana, we vote the person who gets 50% plus 1 wins. Right. This is not the way it works in America. You don't use the popular vote?
No, we don't. They don't use the popular vote.
How do they determine who wins?
So they use what we call the electoral college system.
Okay.
And this system is based on the idea that because it is a federal system, they make sure that all the states contribute to the outcome of the election.
Okay.
And so the electoral system is divided based on the population of each state. Because it's worked out in such a way that no one state has an undue advantage at the end of the day. So there are 50 states. And every state has a certain number of electoral colleges. Now, the electoral college is made up of 530 members, 538 members. 538 members. In order to become president, you have to score 270, whoever gets to 271st wins the election. And like I said, it's a federal system, and each of the states are independent, so they want to make sure that there's some kind of balance in it, right? So they divide it according to your population. So California, for instance, has 55 electoral colleges because it is the most populous, I mean, if we should say, in the U.S. Pennsylvania has 18. Iowa has just 6. Florida has 26. Michigan has 16. So based on the add. So if you win Iowa, you get 6. If you win California, you get 55. If you win Pennsylvania, you get 18. If you win Michigan, you get 16. And then they add, and whoever gets to 270 wins the election, right? Because there are 538. If you get to 270, you win the election.
Great.
So if you win a particular state, you get assigned a particular number of electoral votes.
Okay.
However, what brings about the contention or the battleground state is that out of the 50 states, some of them will always vote for a particular party. So, like in Ghana, we have some people, some regions will always vote NDC.
So when we put the map up there, the red shows the states that typically vote Republican.
Yes.
The blue shows the states that typically vote the Democrats,
right.
The deeper the color, the more red or blue, it means the deeper the vote.
Right.
So the yellow means what?
So the yellow are those battleground states. Do you understand? Those are the people who don't necessarily vote for the same party all the time. Okay. So
that's Florida, there, Ohio, Pennsylvania, North Carolina in this election.
Yes.
And then Georgia as well.
Yes, which is not traditionally a swing state, but now it is. Because of the changing demographics over there.
Amazing.
But the traditional swing states are Florida, we have Ohio, we have Iowa, we have Michigan, we have Wisconsin, we have Nevada, we have Virginia, New Hampshire. So
we missed out on Michigan. Let me come to Professor Eko because he will leave us for something else.
Okay.
Prof, thank you, and I'll come to Wayne later on. Prof, thank you for staying with us. What, in your view, are the key drivers of this particular election? Because the polls seem to think that Mr. Biden is in a lead from what we've seen in the polls. What do you believe are the key drivers of this election?
That's an interesting question. There always are very important issues here that drive the election. The economy, an economy that has been devastated by the COVID and especially the lockdowns. The lockdowns are an issue in the election. Some people believe that one party, especially Biden, wants to, because Biden says he wants to have a national policy where he wants to make sure that COVID is addressed. And his opponents say that is a code word for lockdowns. Lockdowns were very devastating for 3 months. And a lot of the businesses were closed. People lost their jobs. There were all kinds of social issues. So lockdowns have become a political issue. So COVID and lockdowns and the way COVID was handled, in particular in certain states, and the way COVID was handled by the Trump administration. And then, so the economy and COVID. And then we have the issue, the perpetual issue of abortion. And that is what brings in the appointment of Judge Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. There is always a group of people who, on both sides, it's a very emotional issue. Those who are against abortion generally, and they tend to be Republicans, will support that nomination of that judge. And so abortion is an issue, major issue. And then immigration is one more issue. Immigration is an issue. The media make a mistake. They usually say that, the Hispanics, are on the side of more immigration and so on and so forth. If we talk about immigration, it will be to the advantage of the Democrats. Not necessarily. Here in Texas, there are many Hispanics who are native-born Hispanics. In other words, they were here before the Europeans came here. And many of them resent the fact that they are always tagged as immigrants, that they are always associated with immigration. So you probably know in the 2016 election, 35% of Hispanics voted for Trump. And the prediction is that this year it will maybe be a little bit higher percentage. Hispanics tend to be conservative, they are family people, and they do not support some of the social issues that the traditional Democrats do support. But having said that, about 65% of Hispanics still
vote for the Democratic Party.
For Democrats, except for those in Florida, in Miami, who are, those Cuban Americans who are traditionally have supported the Republican side. I think those are the main issues. Foreign policy is a bit salient this year because of China. China being the origin of the COVID virus, and the fact that Trump has stood up to China more than any other president. Biden has had close relations with China, at least he and the Obama administration had, and he was like the front man. So he is seen as being too friendly to the Chinese. And so I've read certain segments of the Republican Party who nail Biden for being a friend of the Chinese. But I think those are the issues. Before you
go, thank you for staying. The polls say that after the debate, Biden is leading in some key swing states. And now, what do you make of that? Because I know that before 2016 election, the polls predicted a Hillary win. We woke up the next morning to see Trump as president.
Right.
So should we believe the polls? And if I were to push you to the wall, who's going to win the election?
Really, anybody, I can tell you one thing. Anybody who can predict with any certainty who will win doesn't know what he's talking about. The point is that the only certainty we know about this election is its uncertainty.
Wow.
There are too many things up in the air. And we still have 30 days. A lot of people decide in the last couple of days of the vote. So there's too many undecided people in this election, I think. So I will not really, it's just like 2016 where we all went to bed thinking that Hillary had won this thing. We woke up in the next day to find that the result was different. So we don't know how this thing is going to turn out. Quite frankly, it can go either way. That's my view.
Wow, thank you. Professor Wanta, what do you think are the key drivers of this election? And then I won't ask you who's going to win yet because you are going to be with us for a bit longer time. What do you think are the key drivers from where you sit?
Well, I could tell you. Well, let me answer who's going to win. I don't know, and I feel very strongly about that. The driving issues, it depends. It's hard to predict how someone's going to vote, especially in this election, because there are some issues maybe more polarizing than we've had in the past. Coronavirus is a really good example. The lockdowns, they were not very popular with most people, but I think most people understand that we needed them. The fact that our president has now tested positive for coronavirus and has had symptoms says something about the coronavirus. I think the more news coverage about the coronavirus, the worse it is for Trump, because he is being portrayed as someone who has failed to protect the U.S. population. If he can't protect himself, how are we supposed to expect him to protect the public? So that, I think, is the one of the real keys. If people are voting based on coronavirus or their knowledge of coronavirus, Trump is going to lose. Trump, there's a thing in our field called issue ownership, and traditionally the Republicans have had the ownership of the economy as an issue, mainly because they tend to be conservative and cut taxes and not worry about budgets and things like that. So, but I don't know if that's necessarily the case now, because our unemployment in the United States is so high, mainly because of the coronavirus and the lockdown. So that's going to be different. The Democrats tend to have issue ownership on social programs, but the social programs like health care are I can't say not popular. They are popular, but I think that people are realizing that the government is staring at trillions of dollars in deficit. I think we're up to $9 trillion. That's a lot of money. That's not something that people can picture in their heads. I've never seen $1 trillion, so I don't know what $1 trillion would look like. But if people are worried about the budget, and some of the more wealthy people who tend to vote Republican anyway are going to use that as a key issue. Immigration was a big issue. Trump ran on building a border wall with Mexico. That, depending on who you listen to, that's either stalled or has gone only a short distance. And then there's all these other personal issues. Abortion. Some people vote for one issue, and it's abortion.
Wow.
Some people vote for a single issue like gun control.
So you're saying that even though the polls now suggest that Biden is leading in swing states, you tend to think that there are too many factors involved, and we can't tell until probably a couple of days to the election who's actually going to win?
Well, I'll tell you this, and that is that the polls in 2016 were inaccurate. The polls in 2020, I think, are probably going to be more accurate than the last election. And I think it's going to be more accurate for a couple of reasons. One is, in 2016, it was not politically correct to support Trump. People knew that he lied. People knew that he was against immigration and against people that are diversity. But one of the reasons that they were inaccurate is because if you ask somebody, who are you going to vote for, this racist that's Donald Trump, or this very well veterans woman of Hillary Clinton, you're not going to say you're going to vote for Trump. I don't think that's the case in 2020 because I think a lot of people are very vocal in supporting Donald Trump. There's these rallies that make it appear like he's got a significant number of people backing him. In reality, it's somewhere around 40%. Now, the key question is going to be turnout. If the turnout is high, Biden will win. If the turnout is low, Trump will win. That's what happened in 2016. One thing that I think everyone should know about the United States election in 2016, there's 330 million people in the United States. 63 million voted for Trump. That's 19%. So 19% of the population supported Trump, voted for Trump, and he got elected. That's because the voter turnout was very low. Not all of the 330 million people are eligible. Some are, minors and other things. But but the point is that the turnout was very low, and the people did not want to say that they were going to vote for Trump.
So I get your point. So if the turnout is high, Biden will win, and the polls are going to be more accurate. So thank you. I'll come back to you, but let me come to Etse now. So the polls are saying what in the swing states?
Right.
Tell me what.
So the polls, and these are the swing states, the states that determine the outcome of the election, right?
Yes.
So, like we have 4 swing states in Ghana, but over there are particular states that you look out for. If whoever is winning those states are likely to win the election.
Okay.
And those states are concentrated in the middle.
In the middle?
Yes.
Show me the map again whilst he talks. Yes.
Not all of them, but some of them.
Yes.
So you have extremely to the northeast or the eastern part, they vote Democrat.
Yes.
Extremely to the south, they are likely to vote Republican. Extremely to the west, they are likely to vote Democrat.
Hence the red red middle.
Exactly.
The red middle.
Yes, but the middle, so like I said, East-West Democrat, South Republican, but then it's the middle guys who always tend to swing the election. And I'll tell you the swing states. Number one that you should be looking out for is Florida. Over there, they say Biden is +2. He's up +2.
+2.
Florida. You look at Ohio. Ohio, they are running neck and neck.
Wow.
You look at, those are the two places you look at first, Florida, Ohio. And remember, during 2000, Bush's time, it's Florida that ended up going to the Supreme Court. The third one that you have to be looking at is a state like Pennsylvania.
Which is a neighbor to Ohio.
Ohio, yes.
Which is where Mr. Biden is from.
That is where he's from. He's from a town called Scranton.
In Pennsylvania.
And actually, Pennsylvania, although it's a swing state, the Democrats have always found a way to win that swing state. And it has a very high electoral college, 18.
18. How many electoral colleges does Florida have? 25?
28.
28. And Ohio?
Ohio has 18.
18,
yes,
okay.
Ohio has 18. And I take my words back. Pennsylvania is 20.
20. So 20 and 18.
20 and 18.
Fantastic.
Now, the reason why the Democrats have always done well is that they've managed to win Pennsylvania. For the first time in a long while, they lost Pennsylvania.
For Trump in 2016?
For Trump. And that was just the end of the election.
Okay.
So you're looking at Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania. I'll say the next place you should be looking out for is Michigan.
Michigan.
Yes, that is the manufacturing state.
In our map, we make it light blue, but it's supposed to be yellow next to Ohio.
Yes, and Michigan. It's light blue because it's leaning Democrats. Although they tend to vote for the Democrats, even though they are swing state. But Trump won it.
So Trump won both Pennsylvania and Michigan,
and then won Florida and won Ohio.
So he won.
You see
5 major swing states in 2016.
Yeah. So you see.
But now the polls are saying that in Michigan, Biden is leading.
In Michigan, he's leading. In fact, he's leading by +16. That's
+16. In Pennsylvania, high. Who's leading?
Biden by +7.
Ohio, who's leading?
Neck and neck.
Florida, who's leading?
Biden +2.
Why is Texas not red but pink?
Great question. Because there's something happening in the U.S. Demography. It's gradually changing, and people are saying that in the next couple of years to come, the Hispanic population is going to increase, and so that is going to change the face of the demographics in the U.S. The white population is probably going to go down, and Texas is probably representing that change that we are seeing. So remember, there was Beto O'Rourke who ran for the primaries from Texas, and he ran for the Senate. He almost beat a Republican. The point is that Texas is a southern state which has always voted Republican, but now, because of the increasing Hispanic population and other demographic factors, they are tending to have more Democratic voters. So they're now becoming a purple state.
Why is Georgia yellow? Because Georgia is a deep south. Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana are supposed to be red. How come today Georgia is not red but yellow?
Right. So it depends. The graphics guy, I don't know what they did there, but Georgia has a very similar characteristic to Texas because it is becoming swing state now. Because the African American population is increasing in Atlanta and the big cities over there, although it has traditionally been red. So the fact of the matter is that numbers, population, demographics are changing the feature and the character of some of the swing states. But I'm saying that traditionally, the perennial, what you call the perennial swing states are Florida, Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, there's Iowa, there is also New Hampshire, and then there's Wisconsin.
And in all these states,
these are the perennial ones.
In all these states, Biden is leading.
In all these states, Biden is leading, except Ohio and Iowa.
We'll take another break. When we come back, we have 2 questions for my guests. What would happen if Trump wins? What does that mean for the world? And what will happen if Biden wins? So what is another 4 years of Trump going to look like? Or a Biden victory, was that going to look like? That's the question we have. This is the point of view. My guest, Etse Sikanku, in the studio. I also have Professor Wanye Wanta. He's actually in Missouri, although he teaches in Florida. And earlier on, I had Professor Lyombe Eko. Stay with us.
Just not ready yet. I want to wait a little before getting pregnant again.
Stop worrying and live free. No matter who you are, Lydia has a contraceptive just for you. Choose the Lydia Daily Contraceptive Pill with iron as your regular contraceptive, or the Lydia IUD, a non-hormonal contraceptive for long-term pregnancy prevention. Contact the Lydia Contact Center and let us help you decide how to live free. With Lydia, you truly decide.
Nivea Men Deep Antiperspirant with the power of black carbon formula. 48-hour protection from sweat and bacteria. For a deep, clean feeling that lasts. New Nivea Men Deep Antiperspirant. Nivea Men. It starts with you. Official sponsor of Real Madrid.
Welcome back to The Point of View. We're getting lots of comments from you. Let me read a few of your comments. Evans from Oyarifa says, Trump is always my guy anytime. He's very hardworking, even with his sarcasm. Good evening, Bernard. I think you are always on point when you come on The Point of View, but in general, Trump has lost it. More comments. Eric Dankwa rather from Dobro says, Joe Biden looks like the favorite to win this election, but in Ghana, President Akufo-Addo will win, together with Honorable Frank Anodompre. Okay. Jibril from New Fadama says, good evening. Ask the lecturer about the debate which the president is refusing to participate in, the Ghana debate. And then Professor Lyombe is making some incredible contributions there. Good evening, Bernard. I don't think Donald Trump deserves another term if he's given another opportunity. Ikram from Wale Wale. Good evening, Bernard. If you ask me, Trump is the best example for president in this era of hypocritical people in suit. He's done well in American economy, breaking records in American economy. And I think the fact that he's frank in recent times, politicians pretend too much. Let me come back to Professor Wayne. So, Etse was talking about the changing demographics of America. And I'm surprised places like Georgia and Texas, which used to be so red, now people are saying Democrats are making inroads. What else can you tell us about the changing American demographic and what it would mean for this election?
Well, Etse was very, very precise and accurate about the changing demographics of the minority population in the U.S. But one other change that's happening is the younger voters. Age is an important demographic. The younger people in the United States are very active in political areas. One reason being that a lot of the younger people are very concerned about guns in the United States. We had a shooting in Florida near Miami that several of the high school kids from that instance have become real leaders in the United States on political issues. They're in Harvard and they're in Berkeley and Stanford and elsewhere. But I think the younger population, even the students that I see as a professor at University of Florida, I think the younger people are very interested in politics, and they tend to be more liberal. And a lot of them don't like Trump at all.
So the demographic issue with age is key as well. In fact, a couple of viewers are agreeing with you on this. Somebody says Georgia's flip is because young liberal economic migrants from the northeastern states looking for lower cost of living. The film industry in ATL is booming, and that has revived the creative heartbeat there, which in turn is drawing more folks to the Atlanta area. That's the reason why we're seeing that change. All right, so let me try.
That's a good point. Oh, I was going to just mention, too, that a lot of young people are moving to places like Dallas, Texas, and Houston, and Atlanta, Georgia, and that's increasing the population of Democratic voters.
My last question to you is, what will a Trump victory mean for America and the world?
The contrast between the two. Biden will definitely improve relations with other countries. He's a big supporter of NATO. He's very popular in a lot of European countries. I'm sure he's probably pretty popular in a lot of African countries as well. Trump has isolated. He's tended to renege on a lot of policies and treaties that have been negotiated in the past. And I think that has upset a lot of, especially our allies, like Angela Merkel, and even close allies like Trudeau in Canada. A lot of them think that Donald Trump is not a very good leader. And I think if you're talking, too, about other issues that are important in the U.S. election, I think the leadership issue, personality, the leadership of the people, of the two candidates, I think a lot of people in the U.S. and elsewhere are very much in the consensus that Biden is the better leader of the two.
Okay. Etse, thank you. Thank you. Etse, so what's your... You seem to say that Biden is in the lead, but you are not really sure because of what happened in 2016.
Well, so remember when I was talking, I said the Pew Research Center and the polls.
Yes.
The polls, real clear politics. They do what we call the poll of polls.
They put all the polls together.
And then they come together, and so they are averages.
Yes.
And so if you look at some of the polls, New York Times and some of them, there are differences in the polls. So that's why sometimes they do the poll of polls.
Yes.
You understand? So some of them, you go, like Ohio, for instance, listen, there are some of the states, they will tell you Biden is leading +5. You go to another poll, they will say that he's leading +2. Some of them, they will say he's leading +16, another one +11. So for me, Professor Eko said, very difficult to predict because of what happened in 2016. The polls can only be as scientific as humans can get. So, I mean, and the most important indicator or predictor is the economy. And there are several economic variables. Employment, inflation, I mean, you know this stuff more than I do, the stock market, and all of that. And the unemployment rate is at 7.9% now, although Trump has managed to add about 661,000 jobs recently. So it depends on how the Americans evaluate the economy, the stock market, the mortgages. The prices of mortgages seem to be going down now, although more and more people are also struggling with COVID and are losing their jobs. So for me, for a lot of Ghanaians who are interested in international politics, I would say that Bill Clinton said something, it's the economy stupid. He did all the wrong things in the world, but still won the election, and he said it's always about the economy. So for a lot of people who are looking at this election, I think they should be looking at that direction.
So who's going to win?
Bernard Avile. Let me talk about the meaning of the candidates for
yes.
Yeah, you remember?
Yeah, but we're out of time. So if
just briefly.
30 seconds.
So we all know what Trump will do in terms of foreign policy, anti-China, I mean, nuclear and all of that. But I want to talk a bit about Biden because we don't know yet what he will mean.
I'll bring you back to talk about that.
Yeah. So,
but who's going to win?
Let's talk about that when I come back.
Okay, so I'll bring you back. I'll bring you back. Thank you. We've run out of time. I've been talking to Dr. Etse Sikanku, who's is an author and also an academic, teaches in journalism and communication. Professor Wanye Wanta teaches at the University of Florida School of Journalism, but he lives in his big farm in Missouri. And Professor Lyombe Eko, associate professor, he taught in many states from Maine to Iowa. He now lives in Texas. Thank you for watching. It's in less than a month. And in fact, by the time you wake up tomorrow morning, they would have had a vice presidential debate. We'll see how that goes. Thank you. My name is Bernard Avile. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
The Point of View is powered by Airtel Tigo. Have you heard that Airtel Tigo calls from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. and Airtel Tigo money transfers are now free on new SIMs? Now you know. Airtel Tigo. Life is simple. And Lydia Contraceptive. With Lydia, you truly decide.